The woman's voice cut through the cheerful sounds of Starlight Adventure Park like a rusty chainsaw through butter. She waved a laminated sheet of paper at the ticket booth with the intensity of someone flagging down a rescue helicopter, even though it was 9:30 p.m. on a perfectly pleasant summer evening. Her teenage son stood behind her, casually demolishing a funnel cake without a care in the world while she continued her dramatic proclamation. "You have to let us cut the line. My son is allergic to moonlight." The teenager scanning tickets blinked slowly, as if his brain needed a moment to process what he just heard. He glanced up at the night sky, then back at the woman, then at the clearly thriving teenager behind her. Ma'am," he said carefully, like someone trying not to startle a wild animal, "it's literally night right now. My name is Derek Lawson, and I'm a 34-year-old EMT from Boulder Creek, Colorado. I've seen my share of medical emergencies, from legitimate anaphylactic reactions to people who swear they're allergic to water while drinking a Starbucks latte. But in all my years of emergency medicine, I'd never encountered someone claiming their child was allergic to moonlight. I was just trying to enjoy a date night at the amusement park with my girlfriend Sarah when this whole circus began." The woman causing the scene was Colleen Hargrave, 43 years old, according to the driver's license she would later dramatically produce as evidence of discrimination. She carried a live, laugh, love, tote bag that seemed deeply ironic given her current behavior and clutched that laminated card like it was a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory. Her voice had that particular quality of someone who'd spent years perfecting the art of speaking to managers, with just enough theatrical flair to suggest she'd auditioned for community theater but never got cast. Starlight Adventure Park wasn't exactly Disney World. It was a small, family-owned amusement park famous for staying open until midnight during summer months, featuring classic rides and the kind of carnival food that cardiologists warn against. The main attraction was the Cosmic Coaster, a wooden roller coaster that had been terrifying and delighting locals since 1987. That's where Colleen was currently staging her performance, right at the entrance where at least 40 people were waiting in line. "My son cannot be exposed to ultraviolet beams," Colleen announced to everyone within earshot, which, given her volume, probably included people in the parking lot. "Moonlight is literally just reflected sun. It's basic science. Sweetie, maybe you should look it up on your little phone there," she said with a condescending tone, as if she were educating the masses. I couldn't help myself. After years of medical training and dealing with actual emergencies, watching someone weaponize pseudoscience to skip a line was too much. "That's not how UV radiation works," I muttered, just loud enough for Sarah and maybe the couple in front of us to hear. Unfortunately, Colleen had the hearing of a barn owl when it came to detecting dissent. She whipped around so fast her tote bag nearly took out a small child. "Excuse me, are you a doctor?" Her eyes locked onto mine with the intensity of a predator spotting prey. The entire line turned to watch the developing drama, phones already starting to emerge from pockets. "Actually, I'm an EMT," I replied calmly, using the same tone I use with agitated patients. "And no, moonlight won't harm your son. The UV index at night is essentially zero. Moonlight is about 400,000 times dimmer than direct sunlight, and the tiny amount of UV that might theoretically be present is completely harmless." Colleen's face went through several shades of red that definitely weren't caused by moonburn. She gasped dramatically, pressing her hand to her chest like I'd just insulted her entire ancestral line. "How dare you question a mother's expertise? I know my child's medical needs. I've done research." Her son, who I'd guess was about 15, looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. He tugged on her sleeve gently. "Mom, I'm fine. Can we please just wait in line like everyone else?" But Colleen was already too deep into her performance to back down now. She spun back to face the ride operator, a college-aged kid named Tyler, according to his name tag, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. "This is discrimination," she declared, loud enough that people at the cotton candy stand 50 feet away turned to look. "You are denying a disabled child his basic rights." "Ma'am," Tyler said weakly, "I'm just following park policy." The medical fast pass is only for mobility issues or certain documented conditions that make waiting in lines difficult. We can't accept a sun allergy pass at night for Moonlight because that's not a real medical condition. This was apparently the wrong thing to say. Colleen's eyes lit up with the righteous fury of someone who'd just been handed the perfect opportunity to escalate. She whipped out her phone faster than a gunslinger in an old western, holding it up to record herself. "Everyone needs to see this," she announced to her future social media audience. "Starlight Adventure Park is discriminating against my medically fragile child. They are denying him his basic human rights to ride their attractions without being fried alive by moonlight." Her son covered his face with both hands. "Mom, please stop. Everyone's looking at us." "Honey, this is about principle," she shot back, still recording. "These people need to learn that they cannot treat customers this way. We have a medical exemption." Sarah leaned into me and whispered, "Is she seriously trying to claim moonlight allergies are covered under the ADA?" Before I could respond, Colleen had moved on to her next tactic. She turned to address the growing crowd of onlookers like she was delivering a TED Talk. "Did you all know that moonlight contains the same ultraviolet radiation as the sun? My son has a rare condition called lunar photosensitivity syndrome. Look it up. It's real." I couldn't resist. I pulled out my phone and did a quick search, then held it up so people nearby could see. According to every reputable medical source, the UV index at night is literally 0. Moonlight doesn't cause burns, rashes, or any other UV-related conditions. The amount of UV in moonlight is so negligible it can't even be measured by standard equipment. A few parents in line started nodding. One dad wearing a shirt that said, "World's okayest father," called out, "Lady, if moonlight burned people, vampires would be the least of our problems. Werewolves would be walking around with sunscreen." The crowd started chuckling. Someone else added, "Yeah, and we'd all need SPF 5000 to go camping." The laughter grew louder. Even Tyler, the ride operator, cracked a smile. Colleen's face was now approaching a shade of purple that definitely wasn't medically advisable. She could feel her authority slipping away like sand through her fingers. The crowd wasn't buying her performance, and worse, they were laughing at her. In desperation, she decided to double down with a visual demonstration. "You want proof?" she shrieked, marching over to where a bright floodlight illuminated the ride entrance. She threw her arms wide and stood directly under it, her laminated pass gleaming in the artificial light. "Look, this is the same type of light exposure. My son could be suffering right now from your negligence. I'll sue this whole establishment for medical discrimination. My brother-in-law is a lawyer." Her son, who had been quietly enduring this whole spectacle, finally reached his breaking point. Whether it was the embarrassment, the frustration, or just teenage impulse, he made a decision that would become legendary in Starlight Adventure Park history. He took the remainder of his funnel cake, a considerable portion still covered in powdered sugar and strawberry topping, and with the precision of a trained assassin, shoved it directly into his mother's face mid-rant. The result was spectacular. Powdered sugar exploded everywhere, like a sweet, delicious bomb. It coated her face, her hair, and most importantly, her precious laminated medical pass, rendering it completely unreadable under a thick layer of sugary paste. Strawberry topping dripped down onto her live, laugh, love, tote bag, creating abstract art that honestly improved its aesthetic appeal. The crowd went absolutely wild. People applauded, hooped, and cheered like they just witnessed the winning touchdown at the Super Bowl. Someone yelled, "Sweet powdered moonburn." Another person shouted, "That's what we call a sugar rush." The teenage boy received several high fives from strangers as he walked calmly toward the ride entrance. Tyler, the ride operator, maintained his composure professionally, though his eyes were definitely twinkling with suppressed laughter. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "you're creating a disturbance and holding up the line. I'm going to have to ask you to step aside so other guests can enjoy their evening." Colleen stood there for a moment, funnel cake sliding down her face, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The crowd had turned completely against her. Her son had publicly rebelled, and her precious medical exemption was now illegible under a coating of carnival food. She tried to speak, but only managed to spray powdered sugar into the air. Finally finding her voice, she shrieked, "This is assault. I'm calling the police. I'm suing everyone. The park. You," she pointed at me with a trembling, sugar-covered finger, "and you," she pointed at Tyler, "and all of you." She gestured wildly at the crowd, flinging bits of funnel cake in every direction. Her son, meanwhile, had walked up to Tyler. "Hey, is it cool if I ride? I've been waiting all summer to try this coaster." Tyler, trying not to laugh, waved him through. "Sure, buddy. You've earned it." The teenager looked at me and Sarah. "Mind if I ride with you guys? I kind of don't want to be alone right now." Sarah immediately adopted him. "Of course. Come on. This is going to be awesome." As we walked past Colleen, the teenager paused and said, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "Mom, I think you might be allergic to common sense. You should get that checked out." The crowd absolutely lost it. The laughter was so loud it probably could be heard from the parking lot. Colleen, defeated and humiliated, stormed off toward the exit, leaving a trail of powdered sugar and strawberry sauce behind her. She was screaming about lawsuits and medical discrimination, but nobody was listening anymore. Security quietly followed her to make sure she actually left the premises. As we climbed into the coaster car, the teenager turned to us with a grin. "Thanks for standing up to her. She does this everywhere we go." Last week, she tried to convince a beach lifeguard that I was allergic to sand particles in the air. We spent the next 2 hours riding every ride in the park with him, and his joy was infectious. For a kid who just publicly funnel-caked his own mother, he was remarkably well-adjusted. The story should have ended there, but Colleen wasn't done. She actually followed through on her threat to sue, representing herself in small claims court 3 weeks later. She showed up with a new laminated card, a binder of printed internet articles about photosensitivity, and a PowerPoint presentation about discrimination that she tried to run on her phone. The judge listened for exactly 12 minutes before dismissing the case with prejudice and ordering her to pay $800 in court fees plus the park's legal costs, which came to $3,200. When she screamed that this was a conspiracy against mothers with special needs children, the judge added a $500 contempt of court fine and banned her from filing any litigation related to Moonlight Allergies for the next 5 years.